All right, I'm just getting prepared here. I'm gonna back out of that. I want to start here from the current slide. There we go. All right, welcome back, welcome back. All right, so we're talking now about weather again. Let's just get to the correct slide if we can, because we already did this throughout the week. There we go, weather maps. There we go, we can get started now. Okay, so weather maps. Well, in order for you to understand a weather map, it's a few things that you need to understand first, right? And we have this weather map symbol right here. Here's your legend to kind of go along with this picture. So you can use this to actually read this. However, if you know your symbols, you'll be able to read these weather maps when you're looking at the news tonight. Okay, so let's go and get into it. So, what is air mass? What is it? Well, air mass is a large body of air with similar characteristics throughout it. Okay, air masses are classified based on their temperature and amount of moisture. Okay, air masses get their characteristics based on where they form. And what I mean by where they form, we're talking about these different abbreviations. And this right here, don't get too hung up on this right now, kiddos, because you're going to gravitate to those when you get to high school a little bit more. You may see these symbols again, so I want to make sure that they were right there for your vision. So the abbreviations used to classify air masses use the following letters: CM, then capitals T, P, and A. For each letter describes its property. For example, C is continental, which means dry. M is maritime, which is merry for marine, like water, moisture, right? And then you have T for tropical. Tropical is warm. You have P for polar. And when you think of polar, what comes to mind? Cold, right? So if A is Arctic, we know polar is cold. What would Arctic be? Very cold, right? Okay. So this is very important, and I know you've seen the capital H, the capital L on the news stations when they're talking about the weather, and you're like, what are they talking about? Well, H is for high pressure areas. This air tends to sink. Winds blow outward from the center, turning clockwise. So if that air is sinking, is that air cool or warm? Right? Remember, cooler air sinks, warm air rises. So remember also that high pressure areas, these are going to be your air pressure systems that are going in a clockwise direction. And you will see this is clockwise. The hand on the clock go in this direction. Okay, high pressure area usually brings clear skies, dry weather, and gentle winds. Okay, these are your better good days. All right, then you have low pressure areas. The air tends to rise and winds spiral in toward the center in a counterclockwise direction. So that is the clock going backwards, right? Okay, so the low pressure areas usually brings cloudy, wet weather, often with strong gusty winds. So because high pressure, you have your air is sinking. This is your cooler, good air, right? But then that low pressure, you have warm air that is rising, which in turn creates those thunderstorms. So think about those hurricanes. Those hurricanes form in a Gulf when that water and that wind and that air and that atmosphere is really, 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 really hot. So you have what is called a low pressure system, which is going to bring about that stormy weather. Okay. So a cold front, and I want you all to pay attention to this. If cold air is moving toward warm air, then it is a cold front. A warm, cold air boundary with the colder air replacing the warmer air. A typical cold front plows into warmer, lighter air, forming towering clouds, rain, and often thunderstorms. And your symbol for a cold front, you would want to know what this is because you will see it again. The weather map symbol for a cold front is a blue line with triangles pointing the direction the cold air is moving. So if you look right here, this is your cold front, and those arrows are pointing in the direction that the cold front is going. Okay, I know you feel smarter already, and you're ready to look at the news tonight so you can look and see what the meteorologist is talking about, right? As a cold front moves into an area, the heavier cool air pushes under the lighter warm air it's replacing. The warm air cools as it rises. If the rising air is humid enough, water vapor in it will condense into clouds and maybe precipitation. So, weather associated with cold fronts. In the summer, an arriving cold front can trigger thunderstorms, sometimes severe, with large hail, dangerous winds, and even tornadoes. So, a warm front. If a warm front comes, then you have what is warm air moving toward cold air, right? Boundary where a warm air mass replaces a cool air mass. Warmer tropical air is forced over the cooler polar air. So you have heavier, denser cold air retreats slowly as warm air rises over cold air, bringing widespread clouds and precipitation. So just like you see here, the warm air is rising over that cold air. So that cold air is pretty much going to move on out of the way and make way for that warm air. So the symbol for a warm front, you have the red symbol right here with the little circles on it. The circles on the red line point in the direction the warm air is moving. All right. As the warm air advances northward, it rides over the cold air ahead of it, which is heavier, right? Remember, cooler air is denser, more heavier. Okay. Sometimes the cold air slows the warm front down and can lead to several days of wet weather. We're associated with warm fronts. When warm front passes through, the air becomes noticeably warmer and more humid than it was before. As the warm air rises over the cold air, the water vapor in it condenses into clouds that can produce rain, snow, or sleet. A slow moving warm front can mean hours, if not days, of cloudy, wet weather before the warm air finally arrives. Okay? Then you have what is called a stationary front. So think about this. If something is stationary, is it moving? No, it's not moving, right? So I want you to remember that when you think of stationary front, it's not moving. So when a warm or cold front stops moving, it becomes a stationary front. Once this boundary resumes its forward motion, it once again becomes a warm front or cold front. A stationary front is represented by alternating blue and red lines with blue triangles pointing towards the warmer air and red semicircles pointing towards the colder air. So they're pointing towards one another, indicating that they're stationary. They can't make up their mind who's going to take this lead, who's going to move first, what's going on, whatever, right? Stationary. You have a warm and a cold front that is just right there, not understanding one another. They're not moving, so there's just going to be stationary. All right. And right here is occluded front. Now, the difference between occluded front and a stationary front is a stationary front is moving. I'm sorry, is not moving. Okay. But in occluded front, this is when a cold and warm front merge or converge, right, into one front. It is known as an occluded front or an occlusion. The warm air mass becomes trapped between two cold air masses, one from the west and one from the east, and is forced up. Okay. Occluded means closed in. A large area of bad weather accompanies the occluded front. So here is your symbol for occluded front. Notice you have the cold front right here merging into the warm front, and they became one. And so now they are going together, right? They're occluded, they're converged. So warm front weather will be followed by cold front weather in all occlusions. Say that again. Warm front weather will be followed by cold front weather in all occlusions. Why? Because warm air rises, cool air sinks, so the warm air is already moving on, going northward. So which types of fronts can you find on this map? Well, let's look together. I see right here we have an occluded front. We have a warm front right here. Here is a cold front right here. Here is another front. What is this one? What is this one? Well, without me telling you, I want you to tell me when you do your assignment. Pay attention to everything that you are doing. Remember, all of these different symbols, you will see them again. Take note of them and be ready for those discussions. Have a great day. Bye-bye.